Is Peyton Manning going to retire? Was this his last year?
No, he's not going to. Not at the next season.
Not after that loss. After that season.
Not after that season.
He broke records last night, I think.
Yeah.
I think he passed for more completions than any other quarterback in the Super Bowl. So.
He was throwing like 10 yards a pass.
Yeah, I know.
It's like,
Oh well. Anyway, just another. I like to report news flashes on the culture war. Here's the latest one that I saw, which is a warning flag to all Christians. Okay, there's a Spanish archbishop and a cardinal. Okay. And he just had a criminal complaint lodged against him in Spain because he said that the homosexual attraction is disordered. And homosexual groups in Europe have filed a criminal complaint against him, saying that statements like yours not only cause pain and suffering, your attitude can normalize this type of behavior. Okay, well, if saying that a same-sex attraction is disordered can result in a criminal complaint being lodged against you, which means you can go to jail for it. Okay, I just have to repeat Cardinal George's statement. Once again, he's going to die in his bed, his successor will die in prison, and his successor will be martyred. These people have an agenda, and this is why I say we're at war. Okay? If you stand up for truth and virtue, you're going to be persecuted. Okay? Page 4 on our handout, okay, I want you to refer to that, because we're covering the common good. And what we're reading from right now is the compendium of the social doctrine of the church. The compendium is a gathering together of all the you could say the teachings that the church has accumulated over the centuries in regard to social doctrine. And we're going to continue, we'll go to 167. That's where we left off. Number 167 in the Catholic Social Compendium of the Social Doctrine of the Church. That's page 4 in the copies that I made for you. And so just to reiterate what we were talking about Friday, the common good involves all the members of society. No one's exempt. All of us have a responsibility to contribute to the good of society, the good that's common to everyone. Okay? And the common good can't be subordinated to just certain members of society. Okay? Society isn't organized just for a certain number of people and we exclude everyone else. No, it has to be for everyone. And one of the reasons for that is because we're made in the image and likeness of God. And everyone has due to them respect and reverence and certain rights that the state must recognize, and these are part of what composes the common good. And the last line on that paragraph, the first paragraph, 167, or the last two lines, it says, this good is difficult to attain because it requires constant ability and effort to seek the good of others as though it were one's own good. And there are people always who are not virtuous, you could say are working against the common good, and they will prevail unless good people act. That's what I wrote on the board on Friday, the famous statement of Edmund Burke, the British statesman, who was alive at the time of our revolution. Okay? He saw our revolution and actually he favored it. He said, these people in the colonies have a right to their own determination, okay? And Edmund Burke said the only way that to guarantee the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Okay? If good people sit back and do nothing, well, evil will just grow and get more powerful, because you do have people that are out for their own interests, only their own good, to the detriment of others, okay? So all of us, and that's you especially, because you have to go out and change the world. It's your generation that will do this, okay? Have the responsibility to promote the common good. And as it says, it's difficult to attain. You relate this to the gospel. Jesus says, we have to fight the good fight. St. Paul says, our battle is not against only worldly powers, but the dark powers of evil, because Satan wants to undermine things. He's always at work. He never rests. We have to be on guard always. He prowls about like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. That's what St. Peter tells us in the scriptures, okay? And then the second paragraph in 167, it quotes a teaching of Pope Pius XI, who said, talking about the goods of the earth, okay, the distribution of created goods, which, as every discerning person knows, is laboring today under the gravest evils due to the huge disparity between the few exceedingly rich and the unnumbered propertyless, must be effectively called back to and brought into conformity with the norms of the common good, social justice. He was writing this back in the 1930s, okay, where he saw this great disparity of wealth, and you can see the great disparity of wealth even today, okay? Just because someone has wealth doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but when you have a great disparity of wealth, something's not right, okay? And we should try to reorder things so that people aren't in dire poverty and need, okay? Why? Because God gives the earth to everyone. All the goods of the earth are for everyone to share, okay? And for the good of all, okay? They can't be hoarded by just a few people to the detriment of others. And I mentioned the gospel, the parable of Jesus, the rich man and Lazarus, okay? That's on an individual level. On a societal level, the same thing applies, that same idea, okay? And now on the bottom paragraph on page 4, from the Compendium of the Social Doctrine of the Church, number 168, the responsibility for attaining the common good, besides individual persons, besides us, we have to work for it, okay, also belongs to the state, since the common good is the reason that the political authority exists. We have political authority to promote the common good. That's the reason why we have authority in government. Okay? The state exists for that person, for that reason. Okay? And the state must guarantee the coherency, the unity, organization of civil society, of which it is an expression, in order that the common good may be attained with the contribution of every citizen. The individual person, the family, or immediate groups are not able to achieve their full development by themselves for living a truly human life. Okay? This is the idea of we're social beings. Yes.
Can I have that packet?
You have what?
That packet.
This?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't get one. Okay. Because I passed it out last week.
She was in Mexico.
I wasn't here for
Okay, I passed it. Someone said they forgot theirs on Friday, and I gave them one, and I should have had an extra one.
I think it was Thomas.
What do you mean? It was. Is you? Where is yours, Thomas? Get it out, okay? I remember this. I went really long with you. I'll have to make a copy for you because I passed them all out.
Okay.
Sorry. So, the fact is that individuals or families, okay, or even small organizations, they can't achieve the common good on their own. Okay? it is besides the contribution of everyone, okay, to achieve full development for all individuals in a society, we need the state to help promote this. Okay? That's one of the reasons why the state exists, why political authority exists, okay? Because individuals can't attain things by themselves. We go back to the idea that man is social by nature. Okay? We need cooperation of everyone for food, for housing, for education. Okay? People must cooperate. And a political authority is there to help promote the common good to see for the good of everyone. Okay? And hence, the necessity of political institutions, the purpose of which is to make available to the persons the necessary material, cultural, moral, and spiritual goods. The goal of life in society is, in fact, the historically attainable common good. Okay? That's the goal of society. And the ancient philosophers talked about this. Okay? Plato, Aristotle, okay, throughout the history of Christianity, okay, this idea was in the minds of people, and it's been in the minds of people who wrote and tried to form theories of good government. Okay? The common good is what the state exists for, to promote the good of everyone. Okay? And then page 5, the compendium number 169, okay, it says, to ensure the common good, the government of each country has the specific duty to harmonize the different sectoral interests with the requirements of justice. Okay? You have different interest groups, all vying for different things. The government has to try to reconcile these, harmonize them. The proper reconciling of particular goods of groups and those of individuals is one of the most delicate tasks of political authority. Okay? To be a good person in government, to have a good government, you have to try to regulate, okay, the needs of individuals and the needs of groups. Okay? How do we allocate things materially, culturally, okay, socially? Okay? People who are in government have to try to do this. That's their task. And moreover, it must not be forgotten that in the democratic state, where decisions are usually made by the majority of representatives elected by the people, like ours, okay, those responsible for government are required to interpret the common good of their country not only according to guidelines of the majority, but also to the effective good of all members of the community, including the minority. Okay? So we just don't forget about the minority, say the poor, the destitute, because they don't have a voice. Okay? We have to have concern for everyone, okay? Not just the majority of the people. Everyone is involved in this idea of the common good. And then 170, the next paragraph, the common good of society is not an end in itself. It has value only in reference to attaining ultimate ends of the person and the universal common good of the whole of creation. Well, who is the final end of everyone? It's God. So we just don't have the common good in regard to an earthly existence. Okay, we as believing Christians have faith in God. God is our ultimate end. So society must be working toward that end. Okay, God is the ultimate end of His creatures. For no reason may the common good be deprived of its transcendent dimension. In other words, we keep in mind that we're all heading toward the kingdom. Okay? We all want to get to heaven. And the government should have this idea too. Okay? That's why the government should promote virtue and promote the true religion. We're going to get to that in a few minutes, okay? Because our ultimate end is God, not just this earthly existence. Okay? So, the fact that it's God means that we move beyond the historical dimension, okay, history, okay, because we're moving toward eternity. Okay. Everyone is moving toward this. And this perspective reaches its fullness by virtue of faith in Jesus' Passover, which sheds clear light on the attainment of humanity's true common good. Our history, individually, personally, and collective, okay, this effort to elevate the human condition begins and ends in Jesus. Okay? He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning and the end, okay, of everything, of our existence. Okay? And thanks to him, by means of him, and in light of him, every reality, including human society, can be brought to its supreme good, to its fulfillment. A purely historical and materialistic vision would end up transforming the common good into a simple socio-economic well-being without any transcendent goal, without its most intimate reason for existing. Okay? So what is this saying? We can't have a government that's only concerned with bread and circus, as we say, okay? With feeding people and entertaining them. Okay? That's not the purpose of government. Many politicians have said, oh, it's the economy. Well, it's not just the economy. It's more than the economy. Okay? As Christians, we just don't look for our economic well-being and say, okay, everything's fine after that. That's part of it, but that's not all of it. Okay? And you're missing the transcendent dimension, the God dimension, the Jesus Christ dimension, if you think that government is only there to provide material well-being of people. No, it's not. That's a materialistic, purely worldly point of view. Okay? Now, as the next paragraph says, authority is needed to preserve the common good. There can be no coordination without subordination. Okay? Someone with authority is needed to ensure that the social group, within the family, for example, okay, you have authority in the family, in a clan, in a neighborhood, in towns, in cities, in schools. One needs governance and authority to assure some are not deprived from the common good. Okay? So authority is part of this. Okay? You have to have authority in a family, you have to have authority in a school, you have to have authority in a city, in a state, in a country. And the important thing that we remember as Christians is, where does all authority come from? From whom does all authority derive? It derives from whom? From whom? John Sutter, you look like you're thinking, okay? God, yeah. You know, when Jesus stood before Pontius Pilate said, I have authority to release you or to crucify you. Don't you know this? What did Jesus say? You have no authority over me unless it were given to you by God. Okay? In other words, by me. But Pilate didn't believe that Jesus was God. That's why he caved into the Jews and allowed him to be crucified. Okay? Pilate did not want to crucify Jesus, by the way. He did not want to. He said, this man has done nothing wrong, but he was pressured by the Jews, the Jewish leaders who wanted to crucify him. Anyway, all authority comes from God. That's the source of everything. Okay? That's what we have to recognize too as Christians. And we need governance to assure that the country runs well, that the state runs well, that our city runs well, that the family runs well. Okay? And authority should be advisory, it should be educative, and to the effective authority must allow one person to have the final say. A country can't have two presidents. Okay? Corporation, you don't have two chairmen of the board, you have one. Okay? So, and it's important that you know, say in electing people, that they have this mentality. Okay? Because if they don't, then they're not really promoting the common good, and they're not really promoting our final end. Okay? Now, I'm going to pass out another sheet here, which I copied off today on the common good, because this is such an important issue that the more we know and are able to understand it, the better we are able to function as citizens in our nation and to promote the common good ourselves. If anyone didn't get one, please tell me. I think I have maybe one left over. I'm not sure. Are we all okay? Good. This article, Mr. Masteller happened to be in the copy room teacher's lounge when I was making copies of this. He happened to see the name of the person who wrote this, Dr. McInerney, a philosopher whom he knows, okay? And he writes this article on the common good. Okay, what is the common good? That's his question, okay? The very name indicates it's a good shared by many. It stands in contrast to an individual good, particular to a person. One can say that any organized society, such as the family, an army, a religious order, is bound together by a common good, okay? Strictly speaking, however, when we speak of the common good, we're talking about the good which is the defining mark of political society, okay? Family can have common goods, but we talk about the common good of society, okay? The common good which is the political society or the state. It is the common good which effectively defines a state. Its identity tells us just what kind of a state it is. The common good is the final end of the state. It explains the very purpose for which the state is organized. The common good is essentially a moral good, which is to say a good which, once established and faithfully adhered to, enables the members of the political community, the citizens of the state, to live virtuous lives. Everything having to do with the structure of running the state, the Constitution, the whole body of laws, should contribute to the fostering of virtue in the citizens. Okay? This was the opinion of Plato and Aristotle, St. Thomas Aquinas, the whole Christian tradition, you can say. How many modern legislators, one might wonder, would view the matter in this light? I would like to ask legislators if they really have this idea in mind that the state exists to promote virtue. We want to promote virtuous citizens, okay? People who are good people, virtuous people, okay? That's what our laws should be ordered toward, okay? And it says laws then, as the expression of the common good, are intended to make people good. But they do so only if they are good laws. Otherwise, you'll have the opposite effect. And the explanation for a situation where a state has developed the practice of promulgating bad laws is to be traced to a defective common good. It may be called good, but that's to misname it. Okay? Now, you can have an apparent good, a good that is apparently good, but not really good. Okay? If you have people mistaken as to what good should be. Okay? And what are some examples, can you think of laws which were enacted, which really weren't good laws? We have laws today that aren't good laws in the past. Anyone think of an example of laws which really aren't promoting the good of everyone? Anyone think of a law or policy, okay, that is not really good? No one can think of any laws that, Corey, what?
No, you probably say abortion.
Well, that's one. We have a law that says people can kill unborn children. Okay, that's an apparent good for some people, because you wouldn't have a law, some people promoting this, if they didn't see that this was a good. So some people think that this is a good. Okay? That laws allowing the killing of unborn children are good laws. Okay. Any other laws that you can think of that are not really good laws, that have passed but are not in reality true laws? Okay, fellas, Thomas and John and Seth. Okay, I need you guys to sit up straight. Okay, no putting your head down in my class. Okay, that's not courteous and respectful. Okay, so just try to suck it up if you're tired and sit upright. Okay. I know I mentioned this before. I mean, we have laws of yes.
Gun-free zones?
Gun-free zones, well, that could be debatable, okay. If some people see the right to keep and bear arms as a good, some people see it as not a good, okay. That would be something that's debatable. Our founders thought it was a good idea to keep and bear arms, so, there are pros and cons on that. I think that's debatable depending upon where you are. Okay, we don't allow people. We have a sign up in churches, in Catholic churches, in this diocese. You leave your guns outside. That's an ancient medieval practice. You lay down your arms before coming into church, because church isn't a place where you should have armed weapons. Okay, and if people get angry, start shooting at each other. No. Okay, so, but in regard to the family, okay. There are laws today which have been passed, which some people think that they're good laws, but from a Christian standpoint, we would say, no, this is not truly a good law. Illinois just passed a same-sex marriage act. Okay, well, is this really promoting the common good? Or apparently, for some, it is, but. From a Christian point of view, okay, marriage is between a man and a woman. No one has the authority to change those laws to allow what conflicts with human anthropology, with the whole history of mankind and the good of the family. Okay, so we have goods that some people may perceive as goods, and laws which may be perceived as good laws, but from our perspective, we would say, no, these aren't good laws and policies. Okay, and on the top right-hand column, okay, well, actually the bottom left-hand column, if these laws are passed, if this happens on an individual level, it happens on the society level as well, with respect to the common good. A political community can set in place and dedicate itself to a common good, which is not truly a good, but an apparent good only. And when that happens, the community in question is heading for disaster. Okay? One of the things that, if you look at the study of the empires, like the Roman Empire, okay, the decline in morality ended up destroying that culture. Same with the Greeks, okay? There was a decline in morality. And historians have noted this, okay? So if a society is passing bad laws which are contrary to the real good, well, that society is on a downward spiral, okay? It's not a society that's working toward the true good of the individual, okay? The next paragraph there, where it says the common good, I'd like, Nevin, why don't you read for us, okay? Where it says, the common good we said, okay? Right-hand column, first paragraph, okay? Right-hand column, that's it, okay?
And it says we said afterwards?
Yes, that's it.
The common good, we said, is to be contrasted with the individual good, but the two should work together harmoniously. The common good, the good shared by the entire political community, must support and enhance the individual good, and in no way inhibit it. And the individual good of any particular citizen should be at variance.
Should not be.
Should not be at invariance with the common good. And those smaller societies which are included within the embrace of the larger society, which is the state. Especially the family should have the proper good protected and nurtured by the common good. There should be no conflict between the good of the whole and the goods of the parts of the whole.
Okay, so you just can't have laws that favor individuals or favor certain groups, okay, to the detriment of others, okay. Let's see, why don't you keep reading?
Where
in right here.
In recent times, we have witnessed a number of governments who have operated under a previously perversely distorted understanding of the common good. I have in mind those
totalitarian
regimes which did anything but foster a genius common good. For first of all, they certainly were not intended to create a virtuous citizenry, and second, far from preserving and protecting the individual good, they did everything they could to suppress it. These governments allowed only for a single
monolithic
good, which tolerated no competitors, and to which everyone had slavishly to conform. If any individual attempted to pursue a good that was
antithetical
to a
pseudo-good, false
good of the party or the cause, promote and often lethal action was taken against.
Now, what he's talking about here is that totalitarian regimes didn't foster the common good. Okay? The state or the party was the only good. If someone spoke up against the state or the party, they were sent off to a concentration camp or even put to death. Okay? This is what happened under the totalitarian regimes, beginning with Russia, and then as communism spread throughout the world. Okay, you had people, anyone who spoke up against the party, okay, was silenced. Okay, sent off to a camp in Siberia where you froze. And most people died there. Okay, or you were put to death. Okay, this can't be the basis for the common good, a political party or a political cause. Okay, and let me see. Noah, why don't you read for us the next paragraph? The common good again.
The common good again is a good which is shared by many. It is not exclusively my good nor yours. It is ours. The common good is what binds a society together. It is a unifying factor, making a political community a coherent, integral factor. Integrating factor, making a
unifying factor.
Unifying factor. Making a political community a coherent, integral whole. This being the case, any movement within a civil society that has effect of undermining its unity, such as programs that seek to promote diversity and pluralism, can be said to militate against the common good.
And keep reading. Aristotle.
Aristotle defined an oligarchy as government by the rich. Oligarchy would be a defective form of government. Where is it?
It's the common good. See there?
Oh, because it is incompatible with the genuine common good, benefiting as it does not the whole society, but only a small part of it.
Okay, now, do you know what an oligarchy is? Oligarchy means a government by the few. Okay? You have just a few people with all the power, with all the means of production, say, and with all the wealth, and if they're passing laws only for their own good, okay, then that works to the detriment of many others. Okay, I could think of in South America, there were many countries that were organized in this fashion. Okay, you had maybe a few families in a whole country that had all the wealth, and everyone else was in poverty. And they had governmental control. They passed laws and policies only to promote themselves. Forget about everyone else. Okay, and actually, that type of a government, which was prevalent in many South American countries, was, you could say, paved the way for the communists to come in and say, "Hey, we'll overthrow this and take away all wealth, so no one has wealth." Well, that's a false view too. Okay, we have a right to own wealth, but it can't be hoarded and held by only a few in the hands of a few to the detriment of everyone else. Okay, so continue then.
Another defective form of government cited by Aristotle was what he called extreme democracy. This is a democratic government which has run amok. what chiefly characterizes extreme democracy is the dominant influence within it of a false idea of freedom where what is called freedom is really little more than license. In extreme democracy, extreme individualism, sheer selfishness reigns, with the result that individual goods are pursued to the extent that the common good is blithely ignored.
Okay, when Mr. Pitpain was here the week before last, okay, I defined this, he's called it extreme individualism, I called it radical individualism, okay? Everyone must bow to my desires, my wants, okay? An example, is in culture area here, okay? Someone feels they're transgendered. So I'm going to be able to, I have a right, as I say, to walk into the women's bathroom because I'm feeling feminine today. Well, no, you don't trample on other people's rights, okay? This is policy in school districts throughout the country now, okay? This is becoming popular, okay? I discussed an article on this in Colorado where the girls were complaining that a senior boy walking into the girls' bathroom when the freshman girls were in there was harassing them, okay? Well, he doesn't belong there. And this is extreme radical individualism. Everyone has to bow to my wants and my desires. No, we don't do that in a good society, a good culture, okay? That's not promoting the common good, okay? It's a false idea of freedom. Okay? Real freedom has to be in accord with truth, okay? The truth will set you free, okay? So, Hannah, why don't you read for us, okay? Emma.
We left off in the middle of the paragraph. right?
Current and fairly.
Oh, okay. A current and fairly prevalent misunderstanding of the common good has it that it is no more than a sum total of individual goods. The poverty of such a notion consists in the fact that it fails to recognize the common good precisely as common. One can sum up individual goods from now to doomsday and never arrive at the common good. For the individual good and the common good are different in kind. An individual good, by definition, is proper to one person. A common good, by definition, is a good shared by many.
Now keep reading. Okay, so the good is proper. Go ahead.
Okay.
Good.
The good is proper object of the human will. It is that for which we were created, and the attainment of which makes for true human fulfillment.
Okay, now remember when we talked about the human person, our intellect, what is our intellect drawn toward, Emma?
The truth.
The truth. And what is our will drawn toward? The good. Okay, that's what he's saying. Okay? The will is drawn toward the good. Okay? And some people, they are mistaken what the good is because they have a confused idea of what the good is. Okay? Well, he's saying the proper object of the human will is the good. Okay? So continue. All goods.
All goods, if they are true, derive their identity and desirability from the fact that they have their ultimate source in the supreme good, God himself. In the final analysis, then, the test whether or not any political community is guided by a genuine common good is to be found in the degree of which that good is rooted in a dedication to the supreme good. The good that is common to any state should be the same good that is common to the whole of humanity.
So what is the source of all good? Patrick Rafferty, what's the source of all good? What's the supreme good? God. God is the supreme good, okay? God has revealed to us what is good, okay? And what is evil, okay? He gives us the commandments. He gives us the teaching of Jesus, okay? That's how God wants society to be composed, okay? So,